All right, hello. Welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. We're back tonight. We're playing more Call of Cthulhu, and things are different on the back end. This is yeah. We're doing things a little differently on the back end. Hopefully, things look a little better. Hopefully, they actually still sound somewhat correct. But we're trying a few things technical on this side, and we'll see how it goes. So, those of you who are in the chat watching now, if any big major errors come up, just let us know, and we'll try to sort it out as best we can, and then fix it in post, as people far more professional than I would say. But how we doing? Everyone doing okay? Everyone doing okay? We doing all right?
Yeah. Yep. Did
we like that 5-minute lead up where we had to be completely silent with one another and just had to stare?
Yeah,
that was different.
No, the voices in my head were too loud.
We couldn't see each other, so we were just here.
Yeah.
The unsettling music, it felt like the intro to a horror movie, like The Shining, where they just have the 5 minutes of just creepy music and then the aerial shots.
Yeah. Normally it's muted, right? Normally that's something we don't actually see. But there we go. Hang on, let me see if I can hide this. I don't want to see how many people are watching. I don't like getting that in my head. I got to fix that. Anyhow, whatever. I'll figure it later. But yeah, like normally we don't actually hear that. We all have that muted. So there we go. Okay. All right. So I don't know. Anything else going on? What's up? Everybody good?
It's summer.
It's summer. I've heard that too. Yeah. Okay. That's good job. That was good job with the banter. All right. Let's jump into the game, and we can get playing, because I know that you all wanted to get this over with as fast as possible and get away from us, so we'll do that. Let's start with
Lies.
Start with Eternal Lies. That's the name of the game.
I set you up.
Did you?
I did.
Okay.
Yep.
What episode are we on? What is this, episode 40? Is this 49?
49 it is.
This is episode 49. Next week's gonna be episode 50. I feel like we got to kill somebody next week. I feel like it's a big episode number. I think someone's gonna die. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Anyone?
I just got past 30 luck, so I can't die.
You have 30 luck back? You have 30 luck back in one?
Well, no, I was at 22 before. Don't call me a cheater. All right, I'm not a cheater.
I don't know about that.
I mean, he can. It doesn't make it true, but he could if he wanted to.
Okay. So I don't remember what episode number it was when Pastor Wood ate it. Do we remember? Does anyone remember number? Remember where we were? That was L.A. No.
Who was
Mexico City.
Not off the top of my head.
Happy previous character. I can't remember much more about him other than that he was not, no one liked him. So I got a lot of messages, people saying thank you for killing him. So most of their
thought is that it
just
even would be out of the game after he died. That's why they were saying thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyhow, are we ready to go? Should we play? Let's go ahead and play. Let's see. Recap. Last time around, you all had arrived at Cthulhu, which is was a destination for you all because it was near the Dalal dig site that George Ayers from UCLA had went to years ago. And so you guys have been very interested in looking at that place, trying to track him down to see what became of him. And you managed to get some help from your French Foreign Legion friends. And you were traveling northward from Djibouti through Ethiopia towards this place called Cthulhu. And that's where you met and talked with two people, two Afar people, one by the name of Jerome, who had been your guide, and then one was Maitreyi. Maitreyi seems to be some kind of village elder of some sort. Anyhow, so you had a very lengthy talk, and you learned a little bit about a cult of the Agony on the Wind, the village of Dalal, and apparently the two Westerners that had been involved in the ill-fated expedition to excavate this ancient temple nearby. And that's Bartolo Acuna and George Ayers. Those are the two names. So you also learned that, save for what they refer to as emissaries of the wind, there weren't many villagers who ever have left Dalal in recent years. And that Dalal's practices, the people who actually live there, has really started to go against Afar culture. So they stopped trading with outsiders, which is very odd. They began revering pain and self-mutilation. And that you learned that they were led by a woman named Shyma. And they expelled in the past anyone who didn't follow their doctrine. You heard about the emissaries, that they believe that they could hear the agony on the wind and they could communicate it in some way. And they have a tendency to travel into the deeper deserts and trade routes to try to get some greater clarity and connection. Regarding like Acuna and heirs, you learned that Maitreyi's and Jerome's predecessors in their tribe enacted a ritual to basically cause a volcanic eruption that stopped the excavation into an ancient temple. But in doing so, Maitreyi fears that they have expended so much power that they drew the attention of an entity that they now refer to as the Agony. And that's also given rise to this cult in Dalal that had been dormant or non-existent for generations. You learn that Acuna and heirs both escaped that destruction, and that Maitreyi's predecessors, they captured heirs, that he was kind of remorseful, and eventually one of the Alfar tribes guided him in some sort of ascetic ritual to help control an aberrant mouth that had grown on his body, much the way that it had on Patrick and on Shyma. And so they haven't seen him for a very long time. He has left for the deeper desert, and it's been years since anyone has saw him. Acuna, they believe, now works with the Italians, specifically over at Iron Point, and that he is advising the Italian cultural ministry, on what artifacts to steal from Ethiopia and Eritrea. So the Iron Point, you learned, was like an old train depot, and it's where it's possible you might be able to learn information about your friend Pierre, who was a legionnaire that had been captured a couple nights ago. You had a little conversation with Louis and Jean. Both were very worried about Pierre. There was a little bit of back and forth in terms of where you all were going to go next, what you all were going to look into. Ultimately decided to send Louis and Jean to Iron Point to figure out if they could see anything, learn anything, etc. And then you all, with Jerome, are going to go to the dig site. On that route, heat really started to crank up and started to kind of get to you all, just to one degree or another. Will especially needed a day to have a makeshift shade just to alleviate this exhaustion that had overtaken him. Patrick and Marie, you both suffered some kind of heat-induced mirage, you think. Eventually you rested. You made it to this dig site. You looked around a little bit. It's this massive crater, and you spotted some tools and stuff here and there. And Marie, I believe it was, the one who found a cairn outside of this large crater. And atop it, you can see that there were words carved in English. And there were three phrases specifically. For my lusts, no penance is enough. Renounce now all flesh and shut my mouth. And I pass now into the dream-scourged hall. I pass now into the dream-scourged halls of Olathwalk. And that's exactly where we ended, and that's exactly where we're going to pick up with you all here at the site. I assume all of you are crowded around this cairn. You notice that this heavy, flat stone that has been placed upon these rocks that has been built up and carved into it. It is very much English, and it's the first signs of anything really in English that you've seen for quite some time. Even though we as players have been speaking in English, a lot of the times when you're communicating with your Legionnaire friends, it's been in French, because some of you know French and have gotten better and better at French. So I'm going to turn it over to you. What are you all doing as you see this? What are you all thinking? What are you all doing? That kind of stuff.
How large is the cairn?
It is. You mean you generally know what a cairn is? That's usually like something burial. It's certainly bigger than you would expect a single grave to be. You would imagine that there might be this would be larger for multiple people. It's not enormous, but it's definitely bigger than a single grave.
Shyma's definitely sort of searching her memory to see if there's any occult specific memories that you might have about walk. Can I make a roll for that, or how does that?
Yeah, you can. 1 second. Yeah, so you can do occult. You can do anthropology. These are both options for you.
I don't have anthropology, but I'll give you occult if you'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Bev, why haven't you taught your graduate student any anthropology?
I offered.
I wonder.
I could do an anthropology roll though.
You guys can both roll. You're coming to the same place, but you can both roll.
I have a 32 under 52 for occult.
Okay, so regular success. You would know that Olathwalk is basically, at some point you've read about this, maybe in your preparations for coming out here, maybe just in a class, like a random class you had to take back at Miskatonic. But you know that it refers to a dream god specifically that is no longer worshipped in this region, but it used to be by fairly remote tribes. Not so much like here in the Danikal region, but just to the west in Tigray, it's like kind of to the west, northwest by Adwa, which is like a region just west of here. It's a little bit higher in elevation and such as well. So you would definitely know that. How'd you do, Bev?
I did a hard success.
Okay. With a hard success, you would know a little bit more information as well. So since you would already know all that stuff about Olathwalk, but you would be able to, probably because you were prepping to come out here, and I know that you spent a lot of time off screen reading into George Ayers' research, and it's not just his research, but the research that he had collected as well. At some point you read about the Dream Scourged Halls, and it's specifically like a reference to a geological formation that are in the deserts near Adwa and in another place called Makela. So like like it's a specific location, and it's kind of carved out in the winds somewhat. So it wasn't ever something that probably popped too much in the research. It didn't seem like George Ayers was particularly concerned about it in his collection, but it was probably something that you read about kind of on the offhand. And again, this is all referencing locations just to the west of here. Like when I say just, I don't mean like 20 minutes. I mean like 5-6 days west of here. Deeper into
geographically speaking, close by.
So I'll definitely share all that out loud so everyone's on the same page. But I will also say specifically to Patrick, Mr. Price, this looks like someone was talking about renouncing things. Maybe this has to do with those asceticism rituals that the Afar were telling us about.
Cannot hear you there, Long, so you might be muted. Check your mic.
Oh. I hear you there. This is the first thing we've seen in English. Possibly Ayers talks about lust as well, an LA thing.
Yeah, I was thinking the same.
Agreed. This finding English out here definitely narrows down the individuals who could have written this.
And what it's talking about specifically points to who might have written it.
Since this is a burial site, I do wonder if George Ayers rests here.
Who would have buried him? And he carved this himself before he was buried?
Well, do we want to disturb this?
Do we have any sense of how old this is? And I don't know if somebody has like a survival or archaeology or anything to indicate, like, if there's a way to understand the age of the carving, if it's more recent.
I guess I could take a survival for that. Yeah. Do you want to roll that, Will? I know you've got survival. Or, I mean, honestly, I would say I would take the survival to try to assess the age of the cairn.
I have 20% penalty on all skill and attribute checks.
Oh, right, because the heat thing.
I'm not going to be much help. The survival is 30. My archaeology is 21. I think the whole time you guys are exploring this cairn, we just see Will in the background trying to set up a tent. And then after like the poles fall down a few times, he finally gets it staked, and then we just see him crawl in the shade.
I would also take, so if anyone, I don't think any of you have it, but if you have like science geology, I would take it. And honestly, I actually would take like an appraise roll, maybe, if anybody has appraise.
Does Marie have appraise?
I have appraise, actually. That would be cool.
Oh,
go for it.
Yeah.
I have 25.
cool.
If you wanted to roll it too, Marie, it's fine. Like more than one of you can roll. It's fine.
How cool.
Yeah, I don't think we've done really an appraise check this whole time.
No, I don't think we have either. Which is why I'm like...
You're muted there, Long. Keep an eye on your mic, man. So that's a fail. 85 over 50.
Failed, yeah.
Marie, did
16.
you roll it?
I did. I got a 16 under 25, which means I get to like check the box and improve it.
Okay. It doesn't look particularly recent. Like it's certainly, just looking at the engraving, there's some weathering on this capstone. You would guess, just by looking at the sharpness of the edges of where this has been carved in, and how everything's smoothed over quite a bit, this is probably 10 years old, maybe. It's been years.
This has been here for a while, about 10 years, which
lines up approximately with when George Ayers came here.
Yes, I still
more
wonder.
things are pointing to George Ayers being the one that carved this.
Well, it could have also been Acuna. He was with Ayers.
That's true. That's true. Either one of them then.
And unfortunately, even if we do unearth this, I don't know, unless there's items that have survived in this with him, I don't have the tools to identify. We don't have like his dental records or anything to that extent to be able to identify it as George.
Do we think it would be worth making an attempt to unearth this and see what we could still see 10 years on?
Feels wrong to desecrate a grave.
Yeah, well, we got no morals out here. We gotta do what we must.
I don't know if that's true. What would we even hope to find that would be worth doing that?
Well, Dr. Key makes a good point that if we unearth this and we can just generally see that this was a man that's buried here, that probably doesn't help us very much. They would need to have been buried with something useful. But to your point, Dr. Key, if we don't have the ability to really identify them, then that doesn't necessarily tell us much. We already know that there's someone here that's passed away.
It's large enough to be more than one person.
There is that.
I'll just push the rocks around, see if there's anything comes up.
I'll give you a hand.
Okay. So Patrick and Marie begin pushing the rocks around. Will is resting. He's made some shade. Jerome, I'll say, probably will come over to you, Will, at a certain point once he takes care of your camels. Bev, Shyma, what about the two of you? Are you helping Marie and Patrick with this, or is there something you're doing instead?
I think Bev would like to quickly confirm with Jerome if this is one of their ways that they bury their dead. Because if it is, she'd want to stop it. Okay.
I don't think it's going to be quick enough to prevent them from starting. But it could be quick enough to prevent them from finishing. Shyma, what about you?
I'd like to ask Jerome if Olwak was one of the Afar's ancient religions specifically, or if it was just something worshipped in this area by other people.
Okay. So Beverly, I don't know why I called you Beverly. Bev and Shyma, you descend from the rim of the crater down into sort of the hollows a bit, where Will has set up some shade. And you pull Jerome aside. You start asking him questions. Patrick and Marie, both of you begin sort of deconstructing this cairn. I need both Marie and Patrick to roll luck tests. Bev and Shyma, when you catch up to where Will and Jerome are, if you ask Jerome about the cairn, he shakes his head, and he's just like, I do not know what that is, but it is normally disrespectful to disturb the dead in many cultures, is it not?
Yes.
It is. But in some cases, there's things left behind that are important for the future to know.
He nods his head, but doesn't seem convinced.
Yeah, Shyma looks away, clearly uncomfortable, but not wanting to contradict Dr. Key.
Well, because it kind of feels that way, because when you're excavating sites of civilizations and stuff too, you are disturbing that technically. Mm-hmm. So Beverly's thinking of it to that extent.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you ask him about the Dream Scourged Halls and Olaf Walk, he says, when he mentioned the names, there was definitely recognition, and he says, "I am familiar with this place. I most avoid those canyons. There were tribes from generations ago who worshipped a being that sent visions to dreams. It is not our way. There are stories that those who venture there must face past ills that they committed or trauma they have suffered. Depending on which people you speak with, this could be to haunt or punish them, or it could be a way for them to find and confront and find closure to. But it is outside of our normal travel, too far to the west.
I will, on hearing this, kind of relay the rest of the writing, and will ask, does this have any relevance to the asceticism discipline that you spoke of, and you and Martha spoke of?
He kind of shrugs, and he says, as Ma'athai explained, these are not rituals that we are familiar with. There are 3 tribes who serve in some way, some of them at least, as guardian. The one that Ma'athai and I are part of, we carried the ritual that allowed, and he gestures with his hand to the crater, the volcano, to awaken. But there is another tribe. They are the ones who carry the asceticism. We know of its existence, but we do not know of its particular practices. Those who preceded Ma'athai and I years ago here, near Dalal, some were members of this other tribe. We presume that those who took pity on your Georges were from that tribe as well. So let's cut back then to Marie and Patrick. How'd you do on those luck tests?
I failed. 73.
Passed. Okay. 49 under 54.
Marie, you're okay. Patrick, you are going to suffer bad luck for the rest of this this scenario, which means that every single luck test you're asked to roll is going to be done so with a penalty die.
All right.
Scenario, not session.
This scenario, yeah. Until you leave Ethiopia, basically, or leave this chapter. As disturbing the dead, you seem to have perhaps drawn unfortunate attention. I would probably say it manifests as you all are moving these stones. The capstone slides off, and while Marie is able to deftly step out of the way, it lands directly on your feet, and you can just feel it crush your toes. The mouth on your forearm screams as well, but you're not going to take any damage. But definitely, you can tell that it could have gone any which way, and somehow it slid towards you. And so these are the types of things you're going to be suffering.
A bit slow out here.
You've got to be careful. We're trying to be as respectful as we can, but these are quite heavy, and I'm sorry, I'm not much assistance with feats of strength.
It's all right. If we find something, it'll be worth it.
I sure hope so. And she's just sort of looking down in the distance toward like Shyma and Bev and their clear disagreement with this course of action, and hoping that we don't go back, hang our heads, and just have disturbed a burial site for no gain.
Okay, so Bev or Shyma, do you return to the cairn at all and try to interfere, or does this kind of continue until it's ready for inspection?
I don't think Shyma is nearly sort of assured enough to continue to press. She made it clear that she's not comfortable once, and yeah, I don't think she's going to keep insisting.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Bev, if there is anything in there, they presumes that they'll bring it over, but she knows she can't like date the bones or anything. She doesn't have those equipment to do so. And she learned that there's 3 tribes that serve as guardian, so she's really interested in learning about the other tribes.
More, I should say that there are 3 tribes of Afar people, and members of them are each selected or chosen as guardian. It's not like the entirety of the Afar people are guardians. It's a select. Yeah. Okay. And I'd even say just for free, you would know that 2 of those tribes are currently to the north dealing with issues related to the Italians in Eritrea, and the one that you've been dealing with is mostly been Maathais and Jerome's, who have been further to the south. So.
Gotcha.
Okay, so Marie, Patrick, even despite the unfortunate falling of this capstone on your feet, you are able to unearth enough stones to see buried in the dry dirt, dry sand, there are the remains of people, of humans. You can tell that immediately without any roll. They're basically they're skeletons with some clothing and some other items and such that are in various states of decay. You can roll anthropology, you can roll biology. These are things that might give you some information. If either of you wanted to, you could call over Bev and have her do it as well. Those are another options. What do you guys think?
I'll call over Beverly while digging through to see if there's any belongings they're buried with.
Agree. I don't know anything, and I know she was displeased, but Dr. Key.
And Bev will go over.
Okay. So, Bev, give me an anthropology or biology test. Either one's fine. You can get something from it.
Okay.
You're not going to be able to no, it's just there's a limited amount of information. You've already kind of laid it out. There's a limited amount of information you can get from just sort of spot looking at it, but there are some things you could potentially get from context clues and things like that.
Regular success.
Okay. As Patrick begins to unearth some belongings and you start carefully pulling and separating some of these bones, the first thing you would learn, Bev, is that you would guess that there's 5 people in here. You see 5 separate skulls, and you would guess that barring someone putting in to this cairn, this grave, some detached limbs, there's certainly 5 people in here. You could, if you wanted to, spend an extended period of time to really closely examine and try to determine cause of death. Like, that's something that would take much more time than just a quick look. From Patrick digging through and discovering some items, you would recognize a few things. You guys have seen various people in Cthulhu and in Saborimo and in various other places, and like Djibouti and such. You see certain things like jewelry made of stone and beads. You would also see like a gilet dagger and such. And then the clothing itself, you don't see anything that suggests like Western clothing. You don't really see the types of clothing you would expect from somebody coming from like the US or from Europe wearing the kind of excavation or survival gear. Instead, you're seeing a lot of the same wraps that you saw when you were interacting with locals. You don't even see any like, there's no shoe wear, no footwear, no boots. From that, I think you would come to the conclusion that these are most likely Afar people, and you don't think there's, or at least somebody pertaining, living that lifestyle at the very least. But there's nothing here to suggest that they might be a Westerner.
Seems all local.
Marie looks kind of down a little bit. Dr. Key, this seems to be just a local grave that we just interacted with.
I could spend some time to see if they were murdered or if they passed of natural causes, but other than that, there's not much other information we can get from this.
That could potentially be helpful information.
You've got time. Wheels resting up.
All right.
Night is descending as you guys did arrive just before sunset, so you had a little bit of time to do a quick cursory glance. And since all you're really doing is taking stones off of this thing, it doesn't take too long. But I would say that any further in-depth biological or medicine study, Bev, would probably take much longer, would need more light, which isn't saying you couldn't produce that light. You totally could, but it would require a little bit of that. And it would also leave you guys up on this flat land away from camp, which is a little bit more sloped down and away from the elements. So it's your call.
I don't think Bev would really want to be out here solo during the night. So if I do so, I'll have to review these in the morning. And this isn't something I can do right now.
Right. Then
that makes sense. It's been a long and hot day.
Okay.
And Bev will take the time because she was raised very Catholic, so she will say a series of prayers, and before she makes her way back up to camp.
Okay. The classic convenience of I'm Catholic in these situations.
Oh no, she's been Catholic. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think I've stated it
How
prior.
have you been?
Ashley's not Catholic, so I don't really know when I should be Catholic.
Were you Catholic with little Coach Ed Exley? No, I don't think you were. Just saying.
Well, she didn't have a kid with him, and that's the most important part, according to that.
That's fair.
Also,
okay.
Welcome in Raiders Infinite Monkey Tales. Welcome in.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that raid. We really, really appreciate it. Hope you had a good game today. We are desecrating graves and being penalized for it. So it's great. That's what you get. All right. So it's nighttime. Is anybody calling out a scene? Anybody have anything they're looking to do? Research scene, talk to one another, look around, anything like that?
Nothing particular for me.
Okay. All right.
Will got in his tent, and you have not seen him since.
Excellent. Okay. So you all go ahead, and this has been a day of travel. So go ahead and give me a heat test to assess how much the effect of the travel here had on you the second half of the day. Things are much more difficult now than they were before. Will, I'm going to say, because you spent the last couple of hours, I'm going to say before you do that, if you wanted to roll a reduced heat test to try to get a con or a first aid to come down a tick before you roll, that's fine with me, because you did specifically say you were in a tent for a while.
Do I still have the penalty die on the con first aid from being heat level 4?
Oh.
Yeah. All of it applies. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
It's a spiral.
Yeah.
Don't forget, there's always that option of a full day rest and shelter that'll reset you to 0. It really is just you have to commit to it. Like, that's all.
Okay, that's not bad. With the penalty die, I got a 35. First aid is 70, but minus 20. So 50, that is a regular success.
Okay. So that means that you would have reduced yourself by a heat level.
Which gets rid of the penalty die, and that's the hardest part there.
And now you can just do your heat test just like everybody else does.
All right, and survival must be hard difficulty.
Which you could. You got this. What are you talking about? Shoot. Will busts out of his tent. Blast him.
So that's a 45, but the survival is 30 with the minus 20 penalty. So yeah, I go back up to 4.
Okay, no worries.
Oh no.
Okay, just remember, and the other thing I should say, by the way, that first aid test, like you all can, if you all spent time treating each other, if somebody wanted to do that, so like if somebody had decent first aid and Will was significantly sick and unable to recover just on his own, someone could roll first aid for him, which would bypass that penalty. So like it means you're rolling it for him rather than him doing that. It just means you have to dedicate your time to treating that person for half a day, basically. It's really about just time sinking. You have to figure out what you're sinking your time into. Okay, I need everyone, with the exception of Shyma, to roll a POW test.
Just to call out, survival is a normal difficulty at the end of each.
Not if you're heat level 3.
Yeah, not
level 3. Okay.
Yeah,
I see.
That's the thing.
Because
POW test, you say?
People might say I cheat, but I don't cheat.
Not intentionally. I don't think you cheat. I genuinely don't think you cheat.
Everyone cheats accidentally.
We all make mistakes. Yeah, we all make mistakes, but I don't think you do.
And I make mistakes more than
rest of you.
People, but it's not
the rest
cheating.
of you, I think you're cheaters like crazy. I mean, we have evidence on tape of Ashley rolling a D20 and a D100.
Oh my god, I still would rather.
That was one of my
favorite
moments.
It's so funny.
I love it.
It's funny.
Okay, so everyone but Shyma, give me a POW test.
I would have rolled a natural
ominous.
1, but the penalty die puts it up to 41, which is still a pass.
Okay, pass for Will and Marie. Fail for Patrick, I see.
90.
Normal success for Bev.
All right, so all of you go to your respective tents after eating, drinking. I'm assuming you're eating and drinking, obviously. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Patrick, as you're sleeping, you're awoken by the sound of a man screaming in utter pain. Just the most excruciating pain that you could possibly imagine. Whatever that sound is to Patrick is exactly what you hear. And you can see through the taut fabric of your tent. There's like something bright and glowing outside.
Throw up my covers, stand up immediately, go outside, see what the scream is coming from.
You see about 20 feet from where you all have circled your tents in the bank of this crater, there is a man that is on fire, and he is dancing around and screaming and screaming. And you realize now that it might not be pain that he's actually screaming. Like it doesn't sound like he's screaming for help. It almost sounds like exuberance and joy, like these exultations. And as he moves around and he dances, like it probably gives you a touch of a flashback towards that time you saw Savitri like dancing around the fire on Kokruk Island, right? You saw her kind of moving and she was going through some sort of ritual practice, and you see this man spinning around in this wild frenzy, just screaming as loud as he possibly can. And he is completely and utterly ablaze.
What's wrong with you? Get down. You're on fire.
You're not sure if your words pierced through his own screams.
I'll try to find like a blanket to wrap him in.
Okay, yeah. You reach back in. You probably have some. It gets a little cooler at night, so you come back and you grab it, and you rush up. Give me a luck test. This is for your mouth, so your penalty and your little pouch are going to cancel out. So just roll a standard luck test.
$59 is a fail by 3.
You tackle him to the ground, and you get him wrapped up, and you start sort of patting the fire down. You hear the mouth on your forearm begin to and you look down and you see like a dog that hasn't eaten for days. It is gnawing and thrashing as it has a long blackened bone, like a femur, like that is like crunching in its mouth. You can see it's just pulling it in and snaps it in two. And as you pull back and try to get your forearm from doing it, you can see it's continuing to crunch down as if it's like breaking down the bone itself. And when you look underneath at the man that you have just saved, you can see the scorched remains of a skeleton that you and Marie and Bev dug up earlier in the evening. I need you to roll a sand test.
Oh my
34
goodness.
sand. My first pass is my sand.
Attaboy, you keep it together. Yeah, you keep it together. You've seen worse things at this point in your life, Patrick. But nonetheless, there is nonetheless, your mouth is gnawing on one of the bones of these skeletal bodies that you unearthed beneath the cairn. What the hell's going through your mind, and what are you doing?
If the screaming stopped, I'd be sitting there just watching my hand. Just letting it happen.
And eventually, somehow, the mouth crunches through the bone and devours the whole thing. The interesting thing, Patrick, you've let this thing feed before, now as well. You never feel sustenance. Like, you never feel as though whatever it's eaten has somehow infused you with anything. The way if you were hungry and you ate a sandwich, you wouldn't feel hungry anymore. That is not ever the feeling that you get. And this thing, you would surmise, as it's trying to pull your arm out to the rest of the body, it's willing to eat the whole thing. Like, it just ate a massive femur. It just crunched it down like it was like nothing. And it wants more.
Since I passed the sand, I'll say I try to resist from doing that.
So you pull it back, wrap it back up as best you can, and it kind of starts to quiet down. What do you do with the body that is very much in front of you?
I'll just keep it wrapped up in that blanket and keep it covered for now.
Okay. Do you go back to bed after that?
Yeah, seeing if no one woke up from the commotion, and I'll try to go back to sleep.
Anybody who wants to, you don't have to. You can roll a listen test to see if you woke up. You go right ahead. but you don't have to. If you'd rather just sleep through the night, that's cool.
Yeah, I was going to ask for that, actually. I rolled a 27 under 61.
Okay. Is anybody else doing it?
I'd like to try and improve it. So yeah, let's see if I
Look at
pick
you.
up. 2.
Wow. Natural 2.
Nice.
Okay.
With the minus
Amazing.
20, my listen is 0.
Sorry, say that again. I didn't
With
catch
the
all.
minus 20, my listen is 0. So I
Okay.
think I'll pass.
A 1 is always a success, though. So
I don't need to. I've already got checked for improvement, so I'll just stay
Okay.
sleeping.
Marie, Bev, as you, I'll say you don't so much hear the pain and exultations of the burning man. You do hear the sounds of something crunching. And when you peek outside, you see the silhouette of what you two would recognize as Patrick, looking out and away from the camp and kind of fidgeting with something, it seems like. And after a moment, you see he lifts his arm up and he wraps what looks like some cloth, some of the medicine tape, the athletic tape. We have so much of it.
Patrick, what are you doing?
Oh, Dr. Key. No, there's a burning man here. He's not burning, but
This,
are you right?
I'm fine. I woke up to crunching.
Yeah, he's just bones now. Don't you see?
This is at the cairn. It's been bones.
No, I'm talking about this man here.
There's no man, Patrick.
Bev, when you get closer, there is very much a skeleton sitting right in front of Patrick.
And is it from the cairn or?
You would assume, yeah. I mean,
Oh,
there's not a ton of light. You didn't do a ton of, but like you would guess.
yeah. Did you bring this all over here?
No, of course not. Why would I drag these bones up here?
And at this point, Marie took a little bit longer to kind of get up. And so she's just been listening and she just kind of appears. Dr. Key, we didn't know such thing. We left everything as it was.
And Beverly's just kind of confused. And you say the crunching was okay. And yeah, we should probably take this back. Or I suppose that should wait till morning.
In the light of day, I would assume. Marie would want to get closer and see, like Patrick said, this was burning. So are there like scorch marks on the ground or anything like that?
Yeah. Definitely, it looks like the skeleton has suffered some burn scorch marks, no doubt.
That's
when I had my vision several nights back when we were resting, what I saw did not actually appear in the morning. But this is actually here. Do you think that perhaps the words that were written on top were something that kept the skeletons where they were?
You think skeletons can up and move? No.
I mean, you have a mouth on your arm.
That doesn't sound as crazy as the previous.
It all falls under the big tent of things I never would have imagined years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm glad that you're not injured, Patrick. Or burned. And she'll look at him and make sure he doesn't appear to have any burn marks on him.
No, he did all right. Yeah, the role I had for him was less about whether he could do it, like tackle the guy, and more about whether the mouth decided to get involved. So
I wonder if the burning was how this person passed away in life.
Well, volcano did cover this place. Kind of makes sense.
Well, it did say something about no penance is enough, and perhaps, and we did hear that some of these followers did self-mutilation and those types of things. Will, did you see? Did you see the burning?
Will's not there. Will's
sorry, Patrick. Did you?
Two white guys just look the same to you, Melissa. So
Maria, you're right. Will's asleep.
Oh dear,
You're going crazy, Marie.
Did you see the burning? Was it a skeleton burning that you saw? Was it a person burning that you saw?
I did. He was ablaze. He was screaming.
Screaming that this was intentional, like self-immolation?
Yeah, it wasn't in pain. I don't know if he was enjoying it, but he was dancing.
This is what Maitreyi did speak of. The mutilations and things are part of their beliefs, dear.
Well, we'll determine cause of death in the morning and see if that aligns with your experience. Because she's not going to call it a dream at this point because the skeleton is right there in front of us. So she's kind of concerned. We should leave it. And,
yes,
okay.
Back under the blanket again. Yes, back to bed.
Okay, so you all retreat back to bed at this point.
Yes.
Continue your rest. You're woken just before dawn, as you have been accustomed to at this point for a couple weeks now, and everyone can move about and do as they please. You can also roll I'll go ahead and let you do a cooldown roll if you want as well, if you still need to do one of those. Well, you can do another one.
If we're going to spend actually, this is a housekeeping question, I guess. Are we spending the time for Dr. Yi to, look at the bodies? And if so, can that same time be used for one of them to do, first aid on Will?
Yes. Yeah. I would say it's totally fine. Okay.
Okay. I can do the first aid. Are we doing that healing now in the morning or later in the day?
I'm just doing this for the overnight. So you can just do an overnight check here. Since you guys, as far as I understand it, you're not traveling in the morning. You're hanging out in the site. You're looking around doing things.
Correct.
I'm just doing it now rather than waiting till later. So you just do it now. And then, sorry.
You said a full day rest in shelter resets to 0. Does staying in the tent count as shelter?
If you make sure it's heavily covered and while it's up against the slope of a crater, if you kind of create a secondary covering so that the sun on the other side doesn't hit it, I would count it. Yeah. Okay.
So Patrick, I'm planning on staying a day in shelter if you want to. If your heat level's high and you want to focus on yourself, you do you.
Okay. So if that's the case, then Bev, you take some time today and you try to lay out some of the remains as best you can. I'll tell you this: when you go back up to the cairn site, you find it's been disturbed. You can see that.
Oh, even more.
Yeah, since when you left it. I would say no roll real necessary. Animals got into it, it looks like. And as you start to lay out the bodies themselves, you can see that a few things are missing. You can see that there are pieces missing that were there the night before, but the bulk are still here. But by disturbing the cairn and kind of moving the rocks around and such, it does seem like you've allowed some scavenger animals to get in here You may even see like little paw prints and stuff around. It's not hard to find. It's not something that requires expert tracking. There was no rain overnight, so it's all very clear. But some things were taken. But if you want to spend the day to lay these out, piece them together, and do a good examination, you can give me either a medicine or biology roll. While Bev is taking that day, Will, you said you were just gonna rest, just gonna straight up rest.
So in the cool part of the day before the sun comes up, he would put on another tarp, the second layer like you were talking about, reinforce the tent, then crawl back in.
Okay. Then that leaves Marie and Patrick and Shyma. Are there any things that you wanted to do today in this area?
I would say that... Go ahead.
Sorry,
Shyma.
go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was just going to say that I didn't have anything particular, so I'm happy to provide support for any efforts that anyone else is making.
If somebody wants to help Bev, Bev could get a bonus die on the roll. I'll say if someone wants to lend it, even if you don't have the skill, like just being there to hand her tools and to help her,
Awesome.
like mix it.
I can absolutely do that because I don't have either medicine or biology.
Okay. Marie, then what were you doing?
That's a good question because I was initially I let Shyma go because I was thinking that she would probably be the one assisting Dr. Key. I would say if it's reasonable, and this may not be, but she's trying to get a sense of where next we might go. So she may try to get a little bit more information from Jerome about sort of like how far west we would need to go and kind of press him on if he would be willing, because he, I think, mentioned yesterday they don't really go there. Would he be willing? So those kinds of conversations.
Yeah, I don't think that's a conversation that would take all day. Like if you're asking more specifics, it's like a week west of here on at the pace you've been traveling. So I wouldn't say if there's something else you could think of that you would have wanted to do today while you guys are stuck here. Like you're stuck here because Will's recovering, Bev and Shyma are working on this examination. So if there's something else you can think of, you can keep on it, keep thinking. Patrick, was there anything in particular that you wanted to do?
Yeah, you said, or we found out the place of the site was covered off, but I'd like to look around to see if there's any weak points that can lead us any further.
Yeah, I would say since you're going to take all day to do it, you can give me a spot hidden test, and you could do it with advantage. I would take that. Marie, anything else that you thought of in the 10 seconds since I last asked?
For now, I can tag along with Patrick. So give him assistance with this. Okay.
I'll say, why don't you roll as well? Why don't both of you roll, since you're helping each other out and you're taking the whole day to do it? You can go ahead and just roll it with spot hidden.
46 is a regular success.
Okay, excellent.
That's an 11. That is an extreme success.
Okay. I will say, since to answer your question in terms of are there access points, between the two of you, and especially with Marie's excellent return there, you are quite confident that not only is there's no access, like there's nothing, like there's no way down into wherever this temple was. You don't think anyone has attempted to excavate it. There are places that are very dangerous still. And you can see while the two of you are moving about, there are times in which like the rock shifts and moves in some places. You're like a foot almost gets caught every now and then. But I would say the two of you are quite confident that no one has tried to excavate this place in years. What you also would find, however, while you're moving about, is I would say there were a few times that as you were searching, especially as like you were kind of pulling back some debris here and there, or kind of unearthing your leg that kind of got caught in a crevice, and as you pull it out, chunks of rock come with it. There are a few times where you found rock where it looked as though there was like teeth embedded in it, and in some like in a sort of like a fossilized fashion. And as the two of you continue throughout the day looking, you find multiple cases of that, where you can see it just looks like they're scattered all over the place. There's some that are in relative groups here and there, but some of them are like jagged, some of them are fang-like, some of them look like they're more grinding molar types. And you see these all over. With your experience with the hyenas, one or two of them might bear some semblance to the sharpened canines, but overall it doesn't really look at it, and it seems like a hodgepodge, like a weird mix of things that doesn't really make sense. But that's probably something that you regularly pick up, almost like you're picking up shark teeth, like while exploring a beach, and you're just kind of every now and then, like amongst the rock, you just pick something else up. And by the end of the day, by the time sunset hits, you have in your possession dozens of these teeth, these fossilized style of teeth.
Patrick,
either one of you could make a biology test. I should also offer. Sorry.
I don't think I have biology.
Okay. I don't either.
I would take a natural world if you have natural world.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
I'll try rolling it. It's a 10, but we'll give it a whirl. No.
Damn, Patrick. Bang on 15 on 15.
15 on the dot. Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay. You're fairly certain, based upon what you've seen so far and heard so far, between seeing like that jackal creature that the woman in Saborimo was sort of butchering, the hyenas that you fought, and just from some of the stories that you've heard along the way from either Jerome or some of the Legionnaires, you don't really think that there's a creature specifically that these all would come from, and they're so disparate in some way. At the same time, though, maybe back at camp, as you guys are getting ready to eat, you start piecing some of them together almost. And it actually looks like they all correspond together. Like, meaning one sharpened, jagged tooth next to, inexplicably, like a molar, and another one next to something that seems a little bit more like a very thin, piercing kind of tooth, almost like a fang. And you start noticing like these little notches here and there, as if all of these teeth make like a puzzle piece, as if they're all from the same creature, despite their complete and utter differences in terms of how they look.
Check this out, Maria. It fits perfectly.
It's teeth. They're so. What do you mean? They don't fit together. They're not the same.
No, it does. I was playing with them, and I don't know what kind of creature this is, but it fits.
Oh, well, I do suppose that you're right. It does look like that goes with. I was wondering if this was something that during the eruption of the volcano, if this was a melting, and then that's why this is sort of in the rock, because whatever body that it had been a part of melted in the heat of that, and then solidified back into rock. I wasn't particularly good in my studies. I'm not sure if that even makes any sense.
Well, it's all I can get out of this. So, and there's no way into the ruins, it seems.
We did. Between us, we tried every possible way in, and I am very confident that is not. And it really didn't sound like Ma'athai wanted us going down into that place anyway. So perhaps it's for the best.
See if the others uncovered anything.
So we go over and we see a montage of Shyma and Bev unearthing the remains, laying them out, unspooling some canvas to lay them out carefully, figuring out which arm goes with which torso, which leg goes, with which like the spinal piece, etc. Like making sure all of this is pieced together as best you can. Go ahead and Bev, give me this can be a medicine or a biology test, and you can take a bonus die with Shyma's assistance.
Okay, I did roll, but I think I jumped the gun before I knew I had Shyma's assistance.
Just roll it again, the normal, and take the better.
I rolled a 4. So it's still the same. So still 4. No, I mean 4 is in 40. So still the same roll. I spent the 2 luck to get a regular success.
Okay. Ultimately, what you can conclude from doing a deeper investigation of these is that there doesn't seem to be any signs that these people suffered anything other than the effects of being at ground zero of a volcanic eruption. Like that's basically it. And in the sense of like not just the eruption, but an explosion. And so you're certainly seeing signs of like broken limbs, probably coming from some kind of like expulsion where they were thrown and kind of scattered against rock. Other cases, you might see signs on some of their clothing of scorch marks, things of that nature. There's nothing in here to suggest that any of them are like murdered. There's no like stab wounds. A few of them certainly have signs of past trauma, but you can tell from your careful analysis that some of these are likely older wounds. They don't bear the same aging. Like it's hard to tell for sure without having like actual forensic equipment. But there's nothing in here that suggests that these aren't deaths from probably workers being at the site when the eruption happened. There is, and you're even more confident now than ever that these were likely diggers or workers at the site. So this doesn't appear to have been like heirs or Acuna or anything like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, then once we reach that determination, I think we would take the time to carefully put them back and then reassemble the cairn.
Okay. So I'll say that by the time you return, it's been a very long day for 4 of you. One of you has been sleeping all day. The rest of you have been working very hard. Go ahead and give me a heat test now while we're at it. Will, you can reset to 0 as once everyone returns from their terribly hard, difficult work. And Will, you step out of your tent and you feel like $1 million.
Got a kink in my neck. I think I slept on a rock.
How nice for you.
Okay.
Need hards on these, right?
Yep.
If you're doing con.
Yeah.
It's a fail.
Okay.
Shyma passed.
Yeah, I also failed.
I'm up to 3 heat now.
I'm going to spend luck.
So I'm getting up there.
Yeah, you literally spent all day doing little spot excavations and digging in a crater in the Danikal region of Ethiopia, one of the hottest parts of the entire world. So yeah, you guys are probably all pretty steamed, except for Will.
And
You all sound pretty dumb, is what it sounds like.
Sure, Shyma's just tough. That's what it is.
She is. She's a badass.
I'm very lucky that I have decent con.
Yeah, I'm 50-50 with that. So
Yeah.
So do you guys talk about your next steps, like where you're going next or what you're going to do next, what's going to happen next? Like it's nighttime. You've been here for 2 days now. You're confident that nobody has attempted to unearth the temple. You're confident that the bodies were not George Ayers. And you've already heard testimony, by the way, that George Ayers survived the eruption, which is why the Guardians had like spent time with him at some point before he ventured off into the deeper desert. So it's just a question of like, what more do you hope to accomplish at this site? And like, what do you think everyone's thinking about in terms of next steps? You can do this in character, out of character, whatever you want, but I'm just kind of curious what your next steps are going to be.
This site seems like a dead end. And the next spots are probably further west or to Dalal itself. That little village town.
yes, I think perhaps what this gave us was a bit more insight, maybe, since the words on the top of the cairn were written in English, then perhaps this was part of what set Ayers in his state of distress. Perhaps seeing all of these workers here had passed in the way that they did, perhaps that contributed to his change of heart, maybe.
Perhaps if we are seeking to follow up on Ayers, I believe we need to meet back up with our French Legion friends and find out if their archaeologist is at that location. Because if anyone should know where he is, I think it would be Acuna.
That is certainly a step for us in the future. being this far out, I wonder if Mr. Price is not correct that we should continue on to the west and see what we can find. Mr. Sawyer, are you feeling recuperated?
Yeah, it's a little warm in here still, but I'm doing better. I don't feel like Delal is someplace that we necessarily want to go unless we have to. We were warned that they were wary of people, that they might respond to us because of Patrick's unique predicament, but it could also go the other way. I think Dr. Key has a good point. We can try to help Lewis and our friends, and if they have an archaeologist that knows a bit more about this, that's our end goal, is trying to find heirs. I don't think he'll be at Delal.
I believe that's... Yes, Dr. Key.
Mathai made a good point of, if we do go to Delal and say we kick the hornet's nest, sure, we may cut the head off the snake if we do deal with their leader there, but we know hardly anything of them other than what they are. We don't know the location. We don't really know their numbers. We know they've grown with the conflict, but we really truly would be blind entering that location, and we would be alone. It would be just us. And I'm hesitant to have a repeat of Thailand, of
And I think the question is, what do we have to gain from going to Delal? We might be able to learn more about their leader, who sounds like they are in charge of a sect worshipping the mouth or something similar, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we'll get any information from them. We might just be walking right into another trap, like Dr. Key said.
And we haven't come across any creations of nectar. So, and our connection to that was George Ayers. So I feel if we continue to pull that line of nectar creation, George Ayers, that might be our best bet.
Well, if I'm remembering correctly, the information from Mathai was that George Ayers had gone deeper into the desert. And
yes,
I believe that going west and following this sort of lead on the dream-scourged halls would be going deeper into the desert, which feels like that might be more of a likelihood of locating George Ayers. I didn't get the sense that George Ayers was necessarily someone that was going to be spending a lot of time around the Italians or following the same steps that Mr. Acuna had been.
Yeah. My concern is I'm not a survivalist. It's hot, and I don't really know what we're doing out here. Thankfully we have Jerome, but just look at how hard the past few days were on Will.
I'm doing okay. I just had a rough spot. I'm doing fine now. I think the thing for me is that west is a big direction. There's a lot to the west, and if we don't know exactly where Ayers went,
it does.
Like finding a needle in a haystack. It's like finding a needle in the Sahara Desert.
You're right. We can't find Ayers. He could be anywhere. We only know the places of Delal, or we return back. The site's a dead end.
And we knew that it may be. We were warned that the eruption had taken place here. It's our curiosity and our thoroughness and what information are we seeking out here. we're here just for Mr. Ayers, and we may come all this way and not go further towards answers that could help put all of these locations in a bit more clarity?
I think there's someone out here who's already been doing research into the same sort of things that Ayers was interested in. And that's the best lead we have to uncovering more information. I'm not saying we shouldn't track Ayers, but I don't think we can go wandering aimlessly for him.
And I'm hesitant to just wander the desert without our French Legion friends, and I do feel guilty that we left them to go and try and bargain for their friend, for Pierre back. This has been a dead end. This has been a waste of time. We could have been there. And
I would say waste of time. Any bit of information that we gather, we never know how that bit of information may connect to something else and be useful.
I know. It's the gamble. It's did I make the right choice? And then discovering, okay, perhaps not. And
let me give you some advice, Dr. Key. You make a choice and you stick with it. You make it the right choice. We made a choice. Now it's the right choice.
It's no. And she just kind of shakes her head at you.
There is something to be said for not spending one's life mired in regret.
So, would anybody like to make an idea roll? Because I feel like you guys have potentially misinterpreted a few things. So, anybody like to make an idea roll? Because that's one of the ways I kind of like nudge forward. It's just
idea intelligence.
Yeah.
That sounds...
Will's been thinking hard all day.
Lovely.
What is an idea?
That's...
I'm not sure.
Is that
I don't have
an idea roll? An idea roll is a way to kind of get a hint from the GM if you're misinterpreting or at a dead end or something like that. It's just a way to just sort of get like a hint.
It's sort of like just like raising your hand to the GM and just being like, "Hey, you've been listening to us."
So it's not a skill then. We're just
intelligence.
No. It's just an intelligence check. It's just an intelligence check.
I see.
Okay, who got the best?
46 under 60 for Shyma, but I think it looks like Bev did better.
No, she did not. She rolled a 29 under 70. You both have the same, right? Don't you both have the same intelligence? Oh no, I'm looking at your constitution.
No.
Okay.
I got a hard success so far.
I got a regular.
Okay. Bev,
I failed.
Will failed too.
Succeed.
Okay.
Hard succeed.
I assume Will failed. Okay. Hard
You've
succeed.
been hard, but not about this.
Bev and Marie, as you're conversing, Dawn, a few things I'll draw your attention to. You have the basic. There's a lot of things you have. You have George Ayers' itinerary. You know when he arrived. You know that he became. He worked with Acuna on this dig site. You know that he survived the volcanic eruption. You know that he is from LA. He's a UCLA guy, right? And you know that Bartolo Acuna is a Spaniard. He's from Spain. You know that the two of them worked on the site, but they both survived it. Apparently, they weren't, from what you can tell, they didn't suffer from the eruption. You know that Ayers was, according to Maitreyi, was somewhat remorseful. Or at least with what happened. You also came to this site that you're labeling a dead end, and you saw a capstone on a cairn written in English. Not in French, not in Afar, not in Arabic, not in Spanish, in English. You also know that on the capstone, a specific location deeper in the desert to the west was referenced that Jerome says he knows of. And he says that it has some kind of story about people going and dealing with dreams and et cetera, but it's not outside his normal nomadic travels, but he has heard of it. So I think maybe Just laying it out like that. That might. So when you're saying like, oh, we don't want to wander the desert for forever, it's not a needle in a haystack. You know where the needle is generally. It's just about kind of hunting it down.
That's my fault. That was my misunderstanding.
Yeah, Will, you've been arrested, but you don't know anything.
I failed my intelligence test, so I feel like I'm listening correctly.
You did a good job. You're like, I don't know, West is big. What do we do with that?
Well, it is. All right. The Sahara Desert is big. Fun fact, the Sahara Desert is why the Southeast America is so fertile, because all the dust goes up over. Anyways, sorry.
I think as Bev and Maria are kind of putting our heads together, like Bev may be going through her notes and such, and then that's when she comes across her detailed description of her own dream, and her being eaten alive, and that kind of reminds her of, this is her own trial that she had where she witnessed, one of her students, and that was a horrific event in her life, and that kind of matches up with the area. She is still kind of concerned, though, about us just leaving and going to this area and leaving her French Legion folks, but she can't deny that it aligns well, and maybe George was suffering dreams like we were as well, and that might be something he would follow.
I understand that I'm not suggesting a particular course of action when I said the idea roll. I just wanted to make sure you're interpreting the clues and things.
No, I know, rehearing it again about the dreams, and then we all had our own dreams and stuff. That kind of clicked for me too. So,
well, and this was our choice in coming here. That we discussed that if we go to Iron Point, that we know interacting with the Italians is not going to be good for us. And so we could be trading our opportunities for finding answers if we voluntarily take that on. And so I perhaps we put our faith in our Foreign Legion friends that they will be able to parlay with them and have some success. And we do what we are here to do. Otherwise, we could go back, and that could be the end of everything. Even they're very dangerous.
They're soldiers. They can take care of themselves. If we've got a place to go in the west, I missed that. I must have been sleeping during that. If we got a place to go west, I say we go west.
Yeah, I'm very glad that you are back to your usual energetic self. Well,
yeah, had a nice nap.
That's good. Self-care is important.
You had an equivalent of a coma.
It was a good coma. Are we going west?
Shyma?
Our only lead to heirs. Is anyone wary?
No, I'm not.
And what time of day is it again? We're having this conversation in the evening, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So we're unlikely to leave right now, but should we confirm with Jerome that he is willing to take us?
You say that out loud. He's like sitting like 5 feet from you.
My apologies.
Looking at you
the whole Jerry, time. Do you want to take us west?
He looks at you. Do not call me Jerry. That is insulting.
Well, no, we're friends. So, that's what friends do. No, we show each other's nicknames.
We are not.
Like, you could call me Will, but like with one L instead of two, if you just shorten the name.
My name was given to me by someone I care for. For you to take it and besmirch it is an insult.
No,
do not do it again.
Certainly. No besmirching. Scout's honor. Is it 4 fingers?
Our apologies.
Do not know what that means.
It is a sign of earnestness, which I know isn't what we normally see from Mr. Sawyer, but that is an attempt. See, sometimes call him Willie. But we will call you Jerome.
It's longer, but she's just bad at nicknames. So Jerome, would you care to guide us west?
You would like me to take you to the Dream Scourged Halls?
If it's not too much trouble, yes.
It will be not trouble for me, but I worry that the 5 of you might have difficulty.
I think you're right about that. I'm feeling the effects of the heat right now.
We've learned that almost everywhere we go, there is some cost for this investigation.
Where we must go is very, very dangerous. There are active volcanoes. There are quakes in the earth. There are geysers that could burn off your skin. You have struggled in some of the easier parts. Do you feel you are truly up to it?
Well, we don't really have much choice. We're already out here, and this is our job, so... Yeah.
I was a singer before all of this. I generally feel that I am not prepared for most of the things that we've done, but we rely on each other, and we trust that what we are doing is meaningful, and it must be done, and we are the most in the know, so it must be done by us.
Must it?
It would appear so.
If this is your wish, I will take you. I cannot guarantee all of you will return.
We understand, and we are appreciative of your assistance.
Do we leave tomorrow?
Bright and early.
Can we take a day?
Before that.
I feel level 3. How's everyone else looking around?
If you want to take a day, you could.
I'm at 2.
I'm not opposed to it, but Will would be like, you want to rest? We've been resting.
No, you've been resting. I think it might be smart if we reset before we begin this trek.
I could use another hit point anyways.
Okay.
Alright, I forgot about that.
All right. So we will then, we'll flash forward. I do want one POW roll from everybody but Shyma for the night.
Oh.
And let me know how everybody does.
Hard success from Bev.
Excellent.
94. Failure.
That's not good.
Regular success.
Dream success.
Okay. Oh, poor
Schultz.
Will. Just when he finally got a little bit of rest. Okay.
Getting some cabin fever. Going stir crazy.
All right. Will, you are awoken in the night to the sounds of voices outside. They don't sound like Marie or Patrick or Bev or Shyma or even Jerome. And it's many voices. It's like voices that are speaking quietly, but several speaking at once.
Will would immediately think that someone is preparing to ambush us. And he would grab both his guns and try to sneak out of his tent into the darkness.
Okay. Give me a spot hidden. And I would want a minimum of a hard success to see anything because of the darkness.
All right, spot hidden is 45. I don't have any penalties anymore. I feel so light and unburdened.
Right?
36. So I would have to spend 14 luck to make a hard. Yeah, let's do that. I got 16 luck, so I'm still net 2 today.
You see on the far side of the crater, which is a considerable distance, but because it's elevated and it's got the night sky behind it, there's clear silhouettes. you see what looks like 3 figures, humans, standing, looking down. They're ways away, outside of your shooting range. But that's not where the voices are coming from. You hear the voices directly in front of you in the darkness. And you can't see anyone in that darkness, that outside of the ring of your campfire. You can't see anyone. And you start to listen a little bit more closely, and you realize that they're speaking almost in unison. Like just barely off here and there. And there's got to be at least 10, 12 voices. The voices sound similar, the language itself, to what you've heard from Jerome and Ma'athai and Saborimo and all of these places that you've been. It certainly sounds like afar, except it sounds like it's a different dialect in some ways. The S's are drawn out, very harsh sounding in some ways. And as your eyes adjust, you don't see any figures, but you see up from out of the ground, you see what looks like hands. Dozens of them have sprouted, almost like you're looking at a garden, and they are upturned partially, as if in prayer. And I need you to roll a sand test.
Oh boy.
Oh my goodness.
Sand is 50. That's a 13. That's a success. Hard success.
Okay. You can take 1 point of sanity loss, minimum, as you see what looks like a field of these hands and prayer, and the voices continue. What do you want to do about this?
Will has both of his guns out, and he was prepared to use them, and he sees this, and it is pretty messed up. And he would start just firing at some of these hands in the ground.
You see, they just explode, like as
just
you hit
lighting them up.
Yeah, everyone hears this. No listen roll necessary. You hear the sounds of gunfire going off,
just emptying both clips.
Yeah, you just hear nonstop gunfire.
What is happening? What is happening?
Attack from underground.
Is it underground? I thought it was hyenas. Maybe.
Shyma's running to where she saw Will shooting.
Shyma, you run out. You see him shooting. You see the ground kind of exploding in these various places as a bullet hits. You see rock and debris, and as you rush up, Shyma, you notice like in front of him and further away are these rows and rows of small groupings of rock, recently disturbed by bullets, but otherwise nothing of interest.
Mr. Sword, what are you shooting at?
They're digging out from under the graves, whatever. They were buried by the volcano. And just click. And at this point, he runs and he just starts like kicking and smashing at these hands that he sees.
And Shyma is looking around for whatever he's saying he's seeing.
You don't see it. You can roll. You can roll a spot hidden test if you like. Hard success minimum. Will, you rush up and you go up to the next row where you think you see these like a row of hands, and as you smash down, you realize like you're just hitting a small grouping of rock that's just sticking up out of the ground, and then you go to the next one, you do the same thing, and you scatter them easily. Like they're rock that you can tell is still not horrifically formed. You can tell it's still somewhat loose in terms of sediment, and you quickly and easily explode it with maybe the butt of your gun, maybe kicking one, punching, whatever it might be, and it all explodes, but none of them are hands.
Will is like breathing heavy, and he almost like goes to sit down, and then he like jumps back up as he thinks about like the hands coming out from underneath the ground, and he just like leans forward, puts his hands on his knees, and just starts like breathing in deep, trying to regain his breath, but constantly swiveling his head around looking for more of these buried dead.
Well, there's nothing there. It's stone. You heard Miss Oberon.
I think I drove him off. It
was a dream. Well, we've all been having them. I saw an entire building.
I saw them. I heard them. There were more people. There were 3 people that were in the distance, and I start like trying to find those 3 people that I saw before.
Yeah. Shyma, how'd you do in your spot hidden?
I got a regular, but I spent the luck to get to a hard.
You look up around on the ridge, and you actually see 3 figures on the far side of the crater, barely visible. And you can see their contours. And right as you look at them, and right as Will, you start looking and you find them, they start to turn very slowly around and start to walk away from the crater at this point. You're confident, though, there were 3 people up there as they begin to slowly walk away from you.
She's calling off them. Hey, wait!
Oh, they couldn't hear you. The crater's so there's no way they wouldn't be able to hear you from that distance.
Still yelling. She's so good.
Oh, what direction did they go?
It's like northeast, east side. Like you guys, I think, on the western side, over by the cairn, as I assumed.
And
so
we
you can
know
trek back and forth.
Dalal is northish, right? Or
Northeast from here, yeah.
Yeah.
Point is that like all of you guys and Rome know that like Shyma is trying to yell after something she sees.
Will, it does seem that Shyma sees the figures that you saw. So those were real.
Those are different. Maybe they're working together. Maybe they summoned them. I don't know, but those were not. No, the people who were excavating here, they were buried by the volcano. They were trying to dig themselves out. They were all chanting in unison.
Oh.
What are they chanting?
I don't know. I didn't understand it. It sounded like afar, but it was different. It sounded snake-like S's, just the very hard S's.
We've some of us have heard that, have we not?
Yeah, Shyma's
Wasn't that mouth really hard S? Like
and
any of the
languages that we've heard some of the occultists speak. And
the hard S's, yeah, the hard S's you've definitely heard. This, though, did sound like afar with that kind of dialect bled into it. But it was certainly afar. I would say you guys have been immersed in the language enough to know the language and you hear it. It just certainly sounds like it was said by a tongue, by a dialect that had that kind of drawn out S's and harsh endings to words.
Well, we've certainly attracted attention of Dalal, I believe.
It would certainly appear. And I assume Jerome woke up because it was gunshots?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, he's there. Yeah. I don't see why he wouldn't, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got his knife ready and he's like, I had just been throwing towards the camels because I really don't want the NPC to take over and do stuff. But he's there. He's accessible if you need him.
Yeah, I think Marie would want to ask. Jerome, have you heard of... have you come in contact with individuals from Dalal, or have you heard folks that speak that dialect that has the hard S sounds? Have you come across that before?
He sometimes, yes. As we said, the villages in Dalal keep to themselves. They do not travel emissaries, but they do not trade any longer. It has been some time since we have truly conversed with them. What is it? Could you repeat what it is you heard, Mr. Sawyer?
You can call me Will. And I would try to repeat as best I can, but I'm unfamiliar with the language, so...
Give me an intelligence test.
Ooh.
I'll pass my last one.
There's a chance.
Just to see how well you're able to...
Intelligence of 50, I rolled a 49. I am smart.
So you repeat this. And he... Strange. Goodbye, moon. Go far away. Open wide my rift to play. Out come the stars to light my way.
Sounds like a nursery rhyme. Is that like a children's poem or something?
Or anything to do with Olothwak?
I do not know this. I know the words. I do not know what they mean. Perhaps Mr. Sawyer did not listen appropriately. His gift in attention to my people's tongue has not been as thorough as mine to his.
Well, you've had a lot more years, you know. I've only been at this for a couple days, but I'm trying. And you can call me Will, by the way.
Thank you, Jerome. We appreciate your assistance.
You are welcome.
Our
place-
apologies for the disruption to your night's rest.
This place is...
You're welcome for protecting you all.
Marie sort of considers to herself that we got along with Jerome so well when Will was sleeping for a day. And now that he's awake and full of piss and vinegar.
Will is nothing but nice to Jerome.
You have been nothing but a prick. And you know you have been. You know you've been. You know it intentionally. You know it.
Under a veneer of nice,
you're being a prick.
there's
You know
been
you're
poking.
being obnoxious. Okay. Do you guys do anything more this evening? In these dying hours before morning?
I don't think so. It's dark out. I don't. It seems unwise to go traipsing out in the darkness.
Okay. Morning will come, and I think the intention was for you all to rest, recover, build up some shelter. The day will pass then with you all trying as best you can to take that shelter, to bring your heat levels down, and by the next morning, you will all be back to 0. However, I need one more POW test from everybody but Shyma, as another day has passed.
Dude.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, that's bad.
Regular success, Bev.
I thought camping out on the grounds of an old temple that was to a horrific deity that was attempted to be unearthed, and then a magical freaking volcano buried dozens of workers on it. Who would have thought that might be a bad?
I thought it would be fine.
Failure.
Let's just go camp out in a graveyard.
Failure. Yeah.
Failure.
96 over 60.
Okay, that's really bad. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Points to make it a success, but if 2 other people failed, I might as well roll with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
We're coming really fast.
If I want to spend all of my luck, I still couldn't make it a success.
Okay. You guys, throughout the day once more, you spend your day resting. You're all feeling much better. In the hours before night ends, Marie, you hear the sound of a flap that's just constantly going, and the sound of wing kicking up, and it's loud, and it's just constantly going. It almost sounds like someone's tent has been unearthed and is kind of flapping around in the breeze. And you hear like the vague sounds of like the camels themselves beginning to stir.
Did someone not properly secure their tent? My goodness. And she's going to look around to try to see, like, okay, who does she need to help with this? Like, okay, let's get this secured back down.
Okay. You look out and you can see that who do you think Marie is closest to of the group? Not necessarily like best or anything like that. Just like, who do you think that she has spent the most amount of time with amongst the group?
Oh, that is an interesting question. I mean, of late, I'll just go with recency and just say Patrick, because we were just kind of walking around a whole lot lately. So I'll say that.
Fair enough. Melissa always has to contextualize it right there so that she doesn't hurt anyone's feelings. And so I was like, oh, I see you didn't pick her. And you're like, well,
You guys suck. I'm the favorite.
My feelings are hurt, but I'm just keeping it inside.
you should. They
I thought
should
Will
be.
and Marie were getting along. You know, I thought we were becoming friends. But
You
know,
think everyone gets along with you, and no one gets along with you.
I'm nothing but nice.
You are literally a sociopath. You are insane. You are absolutely insane. Okay. you see...
Master Wood friendlier than Will. I don't
Right?
understand.
Pastor Wood was an asshole, but admitted that he was an asshole, knew he was an asshole, and didn't try to gaslight you into thinking he wasn't an asshole.
Oh, dear.
Because there was Pastor Will and Elena.
Pastor Will?
And sorry, but there's Pastor Wood and Elena and the awkwardness of being present for that conversation. And then there's the awkwardness of Will and Jerome. And I'm considering which
I
of those
don't
two.
think this is awkward, but Jerome is very clear about how he feels about
Jerome has never been nothing but professional and decent to everyone.
Yes.
And Will constantly needles him for no reason.
I do not needle Jerome. I needled Lewis.
Yes, you do.
I'll admit
You
that.
called him Jerry. You called him Jerry.
I thought that was nice.
So
I thought we were
rude.
friends.
Why would you think that? He has multiple times told you are not his friend. Oh my goodness. You're delusional. All right. Anyhow, resetting. Marie, you step out and you look over and you can see Patrick's tent is where the noise is coming from. There is a bit of wind. It's not to the point where you think anything's too terrible. If your hat was on, it might threaten to blow off and you have to kind of cover it. But otherwise, it's okay. Your hair might flap around a little bit as well. But when you look over, you realize that the seam that enters in his tent, it's not so much flapping, but you can see a tongue, a large tongue has emerged from it. And on the vertical flap, you can see that there are these jagged, crooked teeth, not unlike those that you had collected with Patrick a couple days when you first arrived. And you can see it's like the tent itself has a mouth and is vertically chewing. And I need you to go ahead and roll a sand test as you see.
Oh, yeah. Yep. That makes sense. Sand of 44. And that is a 3. That's a 3.
You keep it together. You have seen crazy mouths before. I will say that this is enough to kind of keep you steady, but it definitely looks like a fairly large mouth is manifested in the seam of Patrick's tent, and it's chewing on something.
Oh no! No! And so she probably at this point probably would wake. She'll go back. She has a gun in her bag, so she's going to go kind of grab the gun. No. And then she kind of looks like she's going to be brave and go towards it, kind of holding the gun out, and shakes her head and thinks better of it and goes over probably to Will's tent to wake him up.
Okay.
Will.
When you step out with your gun and you look over, the mouth is gone. You no longer see the tongue. You no longer see the teeth. It is no longer chewing. It looks like a tent. The wind has kicked up for sure, but it just looks like a flap is moving back and forth.
So Maria's still going to sort of tiptoe in the direction of Mr. Price's tent. And so she'll sort of like use the barrel of the gun to just sort of move the flap of the tent and just sort of make sure that everything is okay. Looking inside.
He's sleeping, I think. Is that all Patrick would be doing? Maybe you see his little mouth on his forearm. Like, I don't know. What would you say? Do you have it like affixed to something, Patrick?
I think it's been calm, so it's just like the talisman that I've been given. It rests next to it.
Okay. And you can see like it like there's like a pouch that he has on the ground, and it almost looks like the mouth is trying to like retreat from it in some way, but it's still gnawing, but otherwise Patrick's sleeping and seems fine.
And so Marie will just sort of whisper, "Oh, that was just a..." and then remembering what Will had said, she will look out at sort of like ridgeline area to see if there's other figures like there had been.
You look up. It's a windy night, dusty night, a little bit harder to see. You can roll a spot hidden if you like. I would probably say an extreme success tonight, considering the darkness and the wind.
No, I rolled a 39, which is close to a hard, but you said it needed to be extreme, so
yeah,
how's the luck for that?
You don't see anything. It's just there's not a good deal of visibility.
Yeah, and she'll try probably for a good 15 minutes to just sort of stand there and just give it a good shot and see if maybe the wind might die down, and after 15 minutes of just sort of looking around and again kind of trying to go like this, she'll shake her head and check on everyone, make sure that things seem to be okay, and she'll go back to her tent.
Okay. So without waking anybody, you managed to do all this. Morning comes. No gunshots. No craziness screamed out. As far as everybody else knows, it's a perfectly peaceful night. All of you are at 0 heat. Sun has not yet risen. What's the plan?
Marie would share in the morning. I had the worst dream. Mr. Price, your entire tent had turned into a mouth, tongue and teeth along the edge of it. Was quite distressing, but unfortunately I couldn't see if there was anyone out there watching us.
Seems these dreams have been more common since we've been out here.
Indeed.
I have not had any. I usually, I have dreamt about this kind of thing before, but I haven't had. I know all of you have had dreams, and I know even some of our. And I know John had a dream, but I haven't had any.
Well, count your blessings, Miss Oberon. This was not.
But shouldn't I have?
Not sure you want these dreams.
No, I don't want them. But if they point to something, then why am I not being pointed?
I don't know. There are many answerless questions that we've come across, but I will just say a good night's sleep will help you, I hope, for what's to come.
They're just dreams, Shyma. They don't mean anything.
I'm not sure that's true. They've never been just dreams.
Jeff, he thought that was real. He's not saying that's a dream.
Oh, okay. Totally understand now.
Totally different.
Everybody else has dreams except Will. Will has experiences.
Lunatic you've recruited into the party. Oh my god.
They're nocturnal experiences for Will. They're dreams for everyone else.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, but point is, we don't have to play up in Shyma's curiosity and just is obviously coming to bear.
Yeah, like what's happening.
Trying to piece things together, and it's just not adding up.
Yeah.
Sorry about my background, guys.
Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. It's the first time we've tried to use this, so we'll sort it out later. Okay. Are you then, in fact, heading westward to the Dream-Scourged Halls, or do you return to Cthulhu to check on your French Foreign Legion officer friends, or do you head to Dalal?
Will votes Dream-Scourged Halls.
Marie as well.
Even though Shyma is Dream-Scorned.
Hey.
Oh.
I'm sorry. My Will and Danger joke was worse than that, Stephen.
Okay. So before dawn, you awake, you break your fast, you check on the camels, you break down your tents, you have these conversations as you're doing so, and eventually you push off from this place. You are up out of the crater, and you're probably a good 2 miles away from the site before the sun rises, and the heat really starts to hit you. The travel that you're going through now is certainly familiar, but what you've seen in the terms of the stretch between Cthulhu and this temple site is more like what you're getting now. So you're seeing that there are these vast stretches of these salt-crusted plains, many of which threaten to fracture as you walk over them. There are these huge craters, some filled with emptiness, some filled with some kind of a sort of a colorful liquid, acidic pools. You occasionally see what looks like gas shooting up from a geyser or two here or there. You've become more and more accustomed or familiar with some of the signs, especially on the crust itself. And so certainly Jerome is doing his best to navigate, but even still, you all are able to kind of pick up on a few things here and there. So I would say, unless you haven't done so already, everybody go ahead and give yourself Survival Desert and give yourself a check mark, as you will have the opportunity at the end of the adventure to potentially improve it, as you've spent so much time at this point, 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks actually, traveling across the desert in one way or the other.
Nice.
Fantastic.
That's exciting.
I already had it. Do I still get check mark?
Yes, if you haven't already checked it yet, you can. Yeah.
I have
Nice.
Thank you.
Okay. Rather than the travel is not, it's not going to be a short amount of travel. So this is, like I said, about a week or so of travel. I don't want to necessarily do every single day. So I think what I'm instead going to do is I'm going to break this down into like a series of stretches. So we're just do like stretches of travel that are going to get increasingly more difficult because you get further along, number one, but also it's the case of like you're getting deeper into the desert itself. So I think all of those things are going to potentially come into play. So just keep that in mind. So we're going to play this a little bit more abstracted. We're not going to delineate every single campsite. But your first, let's say, 2 days of travel it's again very much like that stretch between Cthulhu and the temple, and that multiple times you all have to backtrack and go a different route. There are times in which you have to keep the camels from kind of venturing off in the direction that they shouldn't. Other times the camels fight you when you try to direct them in one, and they seem to know just a little bit better than you do. And right as their feet are about to hit, like, you realize to pull them back and you kind of venture in a different direction. At a certain point, you start to see some wind-scored caverns, and whenever possible, that's where you essentially make your camps. It could be during the day, just to kind of catch your breath, or it could be at night where you camp. And at night, you can tell too, especially in the evening into the night itself, the winds begin to become more and more present, louder too, not just pelting you with sand and grit, but they start to harass and whistle in your ears to a degree to where it's almost impossible to communicate to somebody unless they're right next to you. When you do have visibility, you can see that there are these sculpted buttes and such on the horizon that from what those of you with decent survival can tell seems to be what Jerome is using as like waypoints, going to here and then to there and then to here. All of you for the first couple of days, give me a heat test really fast, and then we'll kind of continue from there. Those of you who have been kind with Jerome and respectful and curious to Jerome, he will periodically sort of tell you like stories every now and then when he points to one set of buttes or another set of caverns, and he'll talk about like local superstitions, like spirits on the wind dwelling in some of these canyon mouths and such, and how sometimes madness finds people here, or sometimes mad people venture here. It's just kind of an odd little in-between place. Up in Tigray, the highlands, there are settlements. It's perfectly fine. Down in Danakil itself, it's so oppressive, but the nomadic tribes, the Afar, have found their way to sort of survive and flourish there. But it's this like kind of interstitial in-between path that becomes a little bit challenging at times. Will, how did you do on your heat?
I got a 14 under 30.
All right. Marie, how did you do?
I failed with an 88 over 50.
Cool. Okay, kick yourself up to 1 level. Shyma, how did you do?
Hard success with a 15.
Excellent. You're good. You all are becoming a little bit more acclimated is sort of how I'm looking at this. It's like you become a little bit more acclimated, so the heat tests aren't necessarily as regular now. What about you, Bev?
Failed 52 over 50. So close.
All right, Bev and Marie, both of you are at heat level 1. Patrick, how are you doing?
93 is a fail.
Okay, so the 3 of you are still suffering, but it's that day you spent to reset a little bit has made it a little bit easier for you all to travel. On the morning of the 3rd day of travel, it's one of these days where when you woke up, there was a dust storm pelting you. Nonetheless, you pushed. You got your camels going. Jerome did his best to get a direction. An hour into that travel, the storm relents, and then an hour later, it returns. And you can feel it again whipping against you. At a certain point, as you all are traveling, some of you have to literally put your heads down to avoid your eyes getting pelted with grit, only to look back up, and all of you realize you can't see anyone anymore. The entirety of the sand and the grit of the area has created this almost like a fog, this impenetrable fog of constantly whipping hot sand, hot grit. I need what's going to happen here is you all have essentially been engulfed in this. And so we're going to treat this a little bit like a kind of like a skill challenge in some way from other games. Not quite that, but it's sort of, think about it in those terms. This is sort of timed and treated. I need everyone to basically roll. I need everyone to sort of just walk me through what is it you're trying to do as you're trying to get your bearings, as you realize like your camels and your camel that you're on and yourself, you're isolated. You call out, you don't hear a voice. You hear the sounds of like something on the wind, but it doesn't sound like Marie. It doesn't sound like Shyma. It doesn't sound like Patrick. It's just, there's something carrying it. So I'm just going to go around the horn. Will, when you look up and you try to wipe this away and you just realize the storm has gotten so oppressive, what is it that you think you're doing to try to overcome this?
I would know that Jerome was in front of the pack, so no matter what, I wasn't in the front. I would try to navigate, I guess would be what I'm thinking, is like trying to make sure, not that I'm going north, south, east, west, but looking at the ground directly underneath me and trying to see what feels like the most natural path for these camels to take and hopefully go in the same direction that would have been taken by the camel in front.
Okay. If you're looking for tracks, that's track. But if you wanted to say navigate, I would take navigate too.
I was thinking like the tracks would be blown away, right, by this wind. So I was thinking more like following like natural depressions and like rocks and things like that, like whatever natural path might be there.
Yeah, go for it.
Ooh, that is a 16 under 60.
Okay.
Not quite extreme, but hard.
Okay, hard success. All right. You described it perfectly. Like it's less about like kind of looking for tracks and more about just trying to, the bearings you have when your head was down, and you look back up and then feeling the terrain and how the camel beneath you is stepping, and you see it kind of lurching in one direction, but then you realize maybe this is like the wrong direction, and right as its foot lands, you hear a cracking, and then you quickly pull it back, and you can veer off in a different direction, and you see up ahead for a moment, you see a shadowy silhouette of somebody else, like atop, not so much atop it, but you see the shadowy silhouette of the mounds of a camel, and then another figure right next to it. And you know that amongst you, Jerome is the only one who's not riding. He's been walking this whole time. And so you get a sense that is more than likely him. Marie, what is it you're doing, do you think?
Marie had a similar thought because she does have a 60 in animal handling. So I think she is kind of sticking like on a camel and trying to really just sort of like let the instincts of the camel kind of guide the direction that we go. So I'm thinking that kind of that's what she's doing. Sort of like her senses are failing and she doesn't know this area anyway. So the camel knows more than she does.
Okay. That sounds like animal handling, I suppose.
Yeah.
The idea? Okay, good.
Okay, so I rolled. All right, let me do some math here. So I rolled a 74. I have a 60 in animal handling, and I have a heat level of 1, which means that I would need to spend 24 luck to make this a success. So I will do that. So it'll put me down to 19-ish luck.
Okay. All right. Similarly, as you just take your, it's not, you don't like literally take your hands off the reins, but it's just like your hands are in the camels now, and maybe you feel it kind of squirming, you feel it panicking as well. Put a little hand on the back of its neck, maybe Joy Boy, who you still have not talked about, by the way. Like
this is true.
Comes out from underneath the camel blankets, and like you can see, like rests its own fur against the back of the camel, and that somehow that animal to animal instinct has kind of calmed it. And while you don't really see anyone on the horizon still, you do feel like the tension in the camel tends to die down a little bit and doesn't feel like it's about to just burst off and run in a random direction. What about Shyma? How is Shyma handling all of this?
I think Shyma is remembering a couple of things. One is when this sort of happened before. So her first thing is to dismount off the camel and hold on to the reins for dear life. Like she doesn't want to let go of it. And she's less concerned about vision than she is about being able to breathe. So she like pulls her kaftan up to kind of cover her nose and mouth. And she's remembering like the survival in the desert, like training discussions with John. It's like, and trying to kind of recenter herself and just stay in one spot. Basically, storms pass, count your steps if you move. Storms pass, count your steps if you move. And just like kind of saying that again and again to herself to just kind of calm herself down.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like, because you're getting trained in survival desert, it sounds like you're actually doing survival desert. So I think that's probably what you should roll in this case.
Cool.
Yeah.
I only have a 10, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Okay. So bear with me just one sec. I didn't actually change my thing after you said it, so it should just come as survival any. I failed with the 72 over 10.
What do you think happens to kind of get you to sort of screw up? Like you're saying this mantra, what do you think disrupts it? Like, is it something that the camel does, something that you do, something that, something that you see? Like, what is it you think that causes Shyma to suddenly have like doubt creep into her mind or something like that?
I think when she slides off the camel, it like, she's holding onto the reins too tightly. It's for her own comfort. She doesn't know any better. So I think she's holding on to it too tight. So the camel kind of like bucks. So in her attempt to try and like hold on to it, like everything just fucks up for like 30 seconds longer than it ought to.
Okay. So it like bucks a bit, and it's like you're still holding on to it. We'll say it doesn't necessarily run away, but it's like this moment where you're kind of getting half dragged, stumbling over it, losing your footing.
Yeah, and that breathing, holding the cup down up, like none of that works.
Okay. I like it. Bev, how are you handling this moment of utter lack of visibility or ability to hear anybody? Like you're in utter isolation in this ridiculously hot, screaming wind and sand.
I think she slows down the camel, and she uses her compass that she brought along with her to kind of continue in the direction that we were originally going before the storm hit really hard. I don't know what type of role that would be, but
probably navigate. I think is specifically using the compass, trying to navigate north. Sounds like that to me. I would say if you have a compass, you could take a bonus die with it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because you call that out. So, how are you at navigate? You
I have a 30 in it.
That's
so
not bad. Or is that
not
the default?
terrible?
Well, it's under 50, so you could grab an audience boost if you wanted to make it a 40%.
If you,
Yeah, but then I can't improve it. Is the thing?
That's true, and you do have a bonus die.
Technically, technically you can improve,
but I still can't anyways because I have a bonus die.
You could choose not to do it. You can choose not to use the bonus die. You can eschew the bonus die to risk.
Nah, I'll keep my bonus die.
Yeah.
Rose the compass as far as she can into the horizon.
Oh no, she's keeping the compass.
Ooh.
Keeping the bonus.
61.
Okay. Bev.
How bad would it be if I push?
A push is totally acceptable. Just remember that a push and a fail is it's like you would have a consequence.
Is a big consequence.
It's not like you're gonna die like instantly or anything like that, but there would be a consequence.
Not instant death, but death.
Eventual death.
It's bad.
I'm gonna rip it. I've never pushed yet, so
I like
gosh,
I like it.
You're brave. You're brave.
Let's see if I die.
Hell yeah!
45.
Oh, you can't spend luck on push. Yeah.
Bev, you look at the compass. You see it's spinning like it's not working. Like it's going this way and that, this way and that. And you're just trying to get a bearing so you know which way is west. Because you know that you guys are going west. Just go west. And finally, like as you like kind of hitting it or shaking it here and there, finally it settles. And you see the arrow kind of points vaguely in the direction you think is north. And so you stir your camel in the direction, and it follows your commands. It does. You've been on it for a while. It kind of knows you at this point and doesn't have any reason not to trust you. It doesn't realize that you just pushed a roll and failed.
Yeah.
Patrick, what do you think?
I've got my nice goggles on. I'll look up into the sky to see if I could see the sun peeking through.
Okay. You want to do spot hidden?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. And you did call out goggles too, like at some point. So I'll say you can take a bonus die as well. You guys are using the equipment you called out. That's fine. Dear God.
I failed it, but I'll spend the 9 luck.
Okay. You see the sun overhead. It takes a while for some of the sand whipping around above you to give way. It's almost like you're looking through like a heavy like canvas sack, right? Like that's what it looks like. And then eventually someone shines like a flashlight through it. And all of a sudden your eyes are just illuminated by this bright sun above you. But what it does do, and since you know the relative time of day, it does kind of give you a basic position. You know that this is like relatively early in the morning. And so judging from where it is, you know that's probably east, and you kind of veer and start moving off in the opposite direction. So you do what you can. So you have passed Marie, and you have passed Shyma has failed, Bev has pushed and failed, and Will has hard succeeded. I'm gonna roll a couple things for you guys, and then we're gonna go do something else with their lives. Okay.
While you roll that, I just want to say that since Marie did animal handling, I think it makes sense that she's named her camel. And Marie, not being the most intelligent person, named her camel Leo. So it's Joy Boy and Leo. So she's like making up little songs as we're going about like Joy Boy and Leo and our travels and whatnot.
Marie is singing to herself in the middle of this dust storm.
She's doing her best to keep calm.
Shyma, you finally get control of the camel, and you're pelted by the sand. There's whistling. It almost sounds like these long S's. And then all of a sudden, you hear a familiar voice. You hear, "You want to get that situated there," as the sound of Pastor Wood's voice calls out to you. "Yeah, don't take no gumption from that thing. It's just like a really big pissed off horse."
Pastor?
You look around and you can see, standing maybe 5 feet from you, there's Pastor Wood.
Pastor? And she drops the reins of the camel.
Yeah.
And
like,
starts walking towards him.
As you do that, he like puts up a hand and he's like, no, don't do that. And you hear the sound of the camel bolt away. As you get closer, you watch as a spurt of blood comes out of his arm and then out of his face and then out of his leg.
She bolts at him.
You run towards him and you see it's like he's being compressed and chewed in front of you. And then he calls out to you. He says your name and then something else thereafter. But when it comes out of his voice, you hear the sound of that like sibilant S voice. You heard the thugs in Savannah going back that far, calling out, and he's like screaming. And when you reach out to touch him and grab him, you just realize you grabbed a whole mess of sand and you go falling. Give me a sand test.
She's yelling as she says, no, don't go, I miss you. And falling forward.
Yeah.
What did you say? Sand?
Sand, just sand. You just saw a person you know to be dead.
Yeah.
In the middle of a dust.
Person washed fucking died. Yeah.
Yep.
I feel that made make sense. That I feel like
you'll take a point of sand. It's just one sand loss, and then you feel yourself tumbling down the side of a slope. And then we're gonna cut over to Patrick. Patrick had a no, Patrick, you passed, right?
Yeah, regular.
Okay. So yeah, only Shyma and Bev failed. Only the two people who you would think would have been on archaeological or anthropological dig sites. Yeah, everybody else.
Right.
Look at that.
Right.
We've determined we don't have actual survival skills.
You've been glamping. That's really the most you've done.
Yes.
Bev, you pushed.
I did.
You kind of directed your camel in a particular path based upon information you're getting from your compass. And you can feel after a good 5 minutes of this, your camel is not happy with the direction you've chosen. Not even remotely happy. And is kind of trying to steer you away till it just refuses now to move forward. It's absolutely firm and stuck, and it's not doing anything. What would you say you do?
She would try an animal handling to try and get it to continue moving.
Describe what that looks like as you try to do this. And it's got to be something more than just sitting on top of it and doing the rings. That's what you've been doing.
She'll try and get off to lead it.
Okay. Don't make the roll. You're fine. You hop down and immediately feel yourself break through the earth and fall.
Oh, shit.
And you don't fall a short distance. You fall a decent distance. You take 2 points of damage from the fall.
Okay.
You feel a little crunch in your ankle. And then I need you to roll a luck as you seem to be in some kind of rocky, sandy pit. You see up above you, maybe 9 feet or so. You see your camel's head just peering down at you. How'd you do in your luck?
Yeah, I failed. 85.
Oh no.
63.
Jesus.
Jeff wanted somebody to die tomorrow or next.
I didn't. You push. I didn't tell you to push. I didn't tell you to push. Bev, as you're the one good thing that happens is that you are momentarily out of that gushing wind and sand, though you can still feel like sand occasionally falling down this pit. But as you're standing, you're feeling your ankle a little bit turn, and you're kind of, you're kind of getting yourself situated. You see the walls of this pit are beginning to break apart. You see like little bits of sand fall down, not from above, but they're just like the walls themselves. And then you see crawling out of one section of the wall, you see a black pincer, and another black pincer, and then another, and another, and another, until about a dozen black scorpions begin to pour out from the walls of the pit and start to swarm around you. And we're going to end there tonight, and we will pick up on that next time to give Ashley time to come up with a backup character in case it goes really, really poorly for her at the start of the next session.
Oh,
Okay. All right.
Ooh.
He warned you guys.
boy.
He said, you're not going to make it. He said, some of you aren't going to make it back.
Bev
Okay.
He
just
says,
wanted
don't
to
put your
go
tents
back,
on top of
to be
scorpions.
fair.
That's
May
true.
not make it back. I mean-
May. Like you have your permission not to return. Okay.
Oh boy.
And
Oh boy.
that's the worst one. So that's like you got like there's a little thing. I have a little chart, and that is
Yeah.
so because you pushed and you failed. I just picked the
Yeah.
worst one. I didn't even roll it. Shyma got a random roll, but like you got the worst one. Okay.
Oh.
All right. Meanwhile, Marie, Will, Jerome, you guys are fine. Patrick, fine. You're okay.
Leo
to
and
find your
Joy
way.
are like best friends now. It's all good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is it for us. We'll pick up on that next week and see if anyone lives. Why don't we do some closing plugs? So I'm going to throw it over to Stephen so I can psych and throw it back down to Maitreyi anyway. So Maitreyi, tell us what it is you do on your network and find you, all that good stuff.
I am plays games on YouTube and make system agnostic or multi-system tabletop content that you should check it if you feel like checking out. And what's the other thing that you guys are out? Centers the GM and player experience.
Exactly.
Sorry,
That's
I
it. We always remember that part. It centers.
remember my shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Centers the GM and player experience.
Thank you. Someone
okay.
else needs to remember my shit because I don't.
Well, speaking of remembering someone else's shit, Steven, why don't you tell us a little bit about Huckleberry? Different desert.
Whose stuff am I remembering? Huckleberry is a tabletop RPG. It's a action horror Weird West game. It's a lot of fun. It's available now on PDF. You can find links at huckleberryrpg.com. We've got several scenarios out for it already, many of which have 5-star reviews, including one written by this guy. Point in the right direction. Yeah, so you should check it out. It's a lot of fun. We played it here on the channel. So if you want to see how it plays, go to the Lollygagging YouTube and check that out.
Awesome. Okay. Then as for us, streaming next Monday in a couple days, we've got some Time Watch as we are continuing that. We are 1945. There was not an atomic test in New Mexico, but there was a mammoth. And Maitreyi made a local sheriff go permanently and incurably insane. So that was just episode 1. So we'll see what happens in episode 2. Tuesday, we're off for a little bit. We're almost back. I think we got a week or 2 left, but we'll be back pretty soon. But we're off this Tuesday. Thursday next week, we've got more Swords of the Serpentine. We're hitting the finale of our current arc. Could be the finale of the campaign, depending upon some decisions and whether or not Melissa gets chosen as student body president. We'll see. Friday next week, you could see Stephen running us through some Magnus archives, and then we'll be back on Saturday with more of this. That's it for us. I realize I don't know how to raid actually using this system.
I was thinking about that.
So normally I would be raiding somebody right now. So I apologize to all the people I would normally raid. And instead, I'm going to throw us on the end screen and tell you all to have a good night. So bye.
Bye.
I'll be saying you.